the landmark Supreme Court judgment as far as women in the Indian Army are concerned. What exactly are we talking about? Well, women can take on substantive roles in the Indian Army, and let's explain how exactly this works. Now, as colonels, women will get independent charge with accountability. What this basically means is this: women do command men at this stage. So a major or a captain would command a small group of men in a platoon. But it's only when you rise to the rank of colonel that you take on what is called a command position. This is when you have, as an officer, a great deal of independence. And it's this independence that allows you to get a great deal of responsibility. Accountability is yours. The buck stops at your feet. So therefore, you can do well and you can do disastrously. It's all up to you. Women were not given the opportunity to being full-fledged colonels who command a battalion. Now they can do that, and they can do that in many areas. And as a result of this, women can rise to higher ranks through merit. So a woman can rise from the rank of colonel, she can rise to brigadier, from brigadier to major general to lieutenant general. And the areas would be quite a few. Engineering, you can have signals, you can have military intelligence. Many of these areas. Will India at some stage have a woman engineer-in-chief? Will India have a Directorate General of Military Intelligence? If we change to the next point, will India have a Directorate General of Military Intelligence? Will the Army's Ordnance Chief potentially be a woman? So the possibilities in all of this are immense. Now, what are some of the arguments which have been raised by the government earlier on, which the Supreme Court rejected completely? It reflected an old world thinking. A lot of people would say an old world thinking with deeply sexist undertones. What did the government argue? And this was all rejected. The composition of male officers predominantly drawn from rural backgrounds with prevailing societal norms. Troops are not yet mentally schooled to accept women officers in command of units. Let's bring you a few more points. The officers are expected to lead their men from the front and need to be in prime physical condition to undertake combat tasks, the argument being that men are not physically as capable. Inherent psychophysiological differences between men and women preclude equal physical performance, resulting in lower physical standards. This has been a long-standing argument that's been made. Conditions have a major bearing on the employment of women officers in light of their physiological limitations, accentuated by challenges of confinement, motherhood, and childcare. And armies face situations wherein a woman soldier or officer may become a prisoner of war. Now, these are time-tested, old-world arguments. It would be a situation of extreme physical, mental, and psychological stress for the individual, the organization, and above all, the government if a woman were taken prisoner of war. Now, what exactly have the petitioners said? The petitioners in the case said, and the lead lawyer Aishwarya Bhati will be joining us in a few moments, all of this needs to be rejected with the contempt that it deserves, and quite frankly, that's exactly what took place in the Supreme Court today. Let's just quickly go across now to our panelists. I'm joined by Aishwarya Bhati, the senior advocate of the Supreme Court, who's played a pivotal role in this case. It's been a long battle. We are joined by Air Marshal Padma Bandyopadhyay, retired Air Marshal. A lot of people would be asking, but Vishnu, what exactly are you talking about? How can there be an Air Marshal who is a woman? Well, this is an interesting point, and we must always remember Air Marshal Padma Bandyopadhyay has been a doctor. This is an area of the armed forces where women have risen to the very, very highest ranks. And Air Marshal Padma Bandyopadhyay, she's retired now, rose to that rank. Also, Captain Shweta Mishra, she was a captain in the Indian Army. She didn't have the opportunity to get permanent commission and to have the opportunity of maybe someday becoming a colonel or a brigadier or a major general. So sadly, she felt that she had no option. She quit the army. But today, there is this incredible victory in the Supreme Court today. Had she had this opportunity earlier on, then perhaps she would still have been in uniform. Had she been in uniform, though, she wouldn't have been on this program because she would not have been allowed. But I think it's fantastic that what has happened today. But let me go across to Aishwarya Bhati first. Aishwarya, this has been a battle. I'm so sorry, I apologize. We still don't have Aishwarya Bhati, surprisingly. But let me go across to Captain Shweta Mishra once again. Shweta, this is a battle that has been going on for a very long period of time. When did you give up hope, which is why you felt you needed to move on from the army?
Good evening, everyone. See, I won't say I gave up hope at any point in time. It is a big deal that in 1992, government decided that women can be taken. Women are at par, at least as officers, they can serve the Indian Army. That by itself was one big step at that time in 1992. In August 1993, first batch passed out. So I should give credit to them that they started trusting at least at that extent. See, the procedure of selection of women officers is same as men, as on date, you know. You go through CDSC written exam, you appear in the SSB interview. Once you make through the merit, you join the same officers training academy, and the training schedules are almost same for male cadet, GCs, gentlemen cadets and lady cadets. And once you've completed your training from the officers training academy, you pass out as officers. Once you pass out as officers, as short service commissioned officers, both male and female, you are given 5 years of commission. And at the end of 5 years, women are given an option of further extension of 5 years. That is a total of 10 years. And after 10 years, further extension of 4 years.
Right.
That was the trend till now, right? Male officers when passing out
just
after completing
moment,
5
Shweta,
years.
let me just go across to Aishwarya Bhati as well, who joins us now. Aishwarya, I think it's important to clarify that this is perhaps a stepping stone to a bigger victory, and one would hope that a victory happens, and that would be women in the combat arms, a woman infantry soldier, a woman infantry artillery soldier, a woman behind a tank as an armored corps officer. Do you believe that this is a stepping stone to that eventual dream?
Yes, absolutely, Vishnu. In a way, the judgment also talks about how women in army it has been a process of evolution. I just hope that when women are at the cusp of taking that step and performing to the best of their capacities, these kind of stereotypical arguments, I hope they find no place, and it's just the organizational requirements and individual merits that are the focal points which ought to be. I think what was significant in this battle was, permanent commission was granted as a policy decision by the union government in February 2019. But despite having come with that policy decision, there was so much of discrimination that it was being applied prospectively. They said, it was almost like a consolation prize given to women who had done more than 14 years, that we will just allow you to complete pensionable service, so you go home with pension. Completely forgetting that Indian Constitution allows the same dignity, the same equality to the women citizens of the country. And the kind of arguments that were thrown up, different physical standards, biological duty. I mean, you have an air marshal here. Did she not have those duties? And to deny that today, when women have been there in these roles for 28 years, of course, medical corps even far longer, more than 70 years, I would say. But 28 years in these roles, and to deny them command, you throw these arguments. I am exhilarated at the way the Supreme Court has completely junked and demolished those arguments and said that they have no place in the constitutional scheme that we have. Also, because women have now, shown how they have performed.
Right.
The Supreme Court catalogues examples of exemplary women, and not just in peacetime, in the face of hostility. Gallantry awards are not given in peacetime. Women have performed. So to deny them as a gender to these bigger roles, to the leadership roles, I'm just so happy.
And so, Aishwarya, and I think all of you would be interested in knowing this. During the Kargil War in 1999, I flew with then Flight Lieutenant Gunjan Saxena. She was the first Indian woman with Sri Vidya who were women in combat, because though they were fighting on our side, They were attacked with Pakistani surface-to-air missiles, shoulder-mounted. There was gunfire in their direction. They were carrying an INSAS rifle next to them, because if they were shot down, they would go down fighting, as any male soldier would. So to have this kind of bizarre attitude that women cannot be in combat roles when they have been in combat roles back in the Kargil war seems absolutely bizarre. But that's just my observation and my own experience. Air Marshal Bandyopadhyay, I think this is a victory not just for women in the army. I think this is a victory for gender justice in the country. It's not just the forge, it's women in the country. How do you feel, ma'am, about this landmark step?
Good evening, Vishnu. It is really a victory to women of India, yes. But now the government, the Chief of the Defence Staff, Chief of the Army Staff should reconsider and put their views and come to a final decision so that women officers benefit from this landmark judgment of Supreme Court, which actually it was from High Court, which was upheld by the Supreme Court. That would be a wonderful day for the Indian women and also women officers of the Indian Army. But I must submit here, I do not have much know-how about the army officers. Yes, I do know about the Air Force part of it, but I'm sure they will definitely do well when these things are coming to them, and they will excel, prove their worth, not because they are women, but they are equal partners for fighting for India, for the Indian sovereignty, and for India. That's what is most important, I feel.
Ma'am, those are such strong words from you. And yes, the Indian Air Force has been the most progressive of the three forces. We've got women fighter pilots who are doing well, who are fully deployed and operational at this stage. Captain Mishra, I think one point perhaps you can reflect on is the substantive role of, say, a colonel or of a command. Now, as a captain, you would have commanded perhaps a platoon of men. You would have been out on patrol somewhere or the other. But how does that change now if you have this substantive command at the rank of, say, colonel and above? How is that something which is far more serious, which was denied to women in the past?
See, to begin with, when one passes out in any organization, if a junior person joins, he has a dream of, rising to a particular level. I will be a boss in this office. So when young officer, a male officer passes out from the academy, he sees a commanding officer and he says, I want to perform, I will become this, I will work and, make efforts to reach this level. For women officers, up till now, this motivation was not there. We were told you work for 5 years, an extension of 5 years, and then a total of 14 years, and then you go home. We did not have this motivation that one day we may probably, like you flashed the question, whether we will become a Director General of Military Intelligence. Now that motivation is there in a woman's mind that if we perform, we can reach that level. That motivation is a big thing. As young platoon commanders or young company commanders, we have performed. And we have performed, and while performing, we have seen that the troops have been supportive of us. They only see whether you are a genuine leader or not. If they see that this person has a leadership quality, they do not see whether you are short, whether you are tall, you are black or white or male or a female. So if you have proven in the company commander's role that you are genuine commander, you are genuine leader, and people have followed, your troops have followed you, right? So then at commanding officer level also, if a person is genuine, they will not see whether you are a lady or a male. All they see is positive attitude and genuine leadership qualities. Absolutely. So I don't think if a person is qualified to become a commanding officer, if she is up in the merit, reaches at that level, it will be her merit that will make the difference, and not whether she is a male or a female. So that's
Aishwarya, last word to you, because there are so many deeply sexist views going around Twitter right now. This is not about a woman's quota. This is about women rising on the basis of merit. If they don't get the rank they seek, right? This is about equality. It's not about a women's quota.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Vishnu. It is absolutely wrong for anybody to understand it as a quota. Women have been exemplary soldiers, and they have proven themselves that they have what it takes to be an exemplary soldier in the line of duty, to be part of one of the most respected armies of the world. And after having been there for so long, they have been given the permanent commission. It was just the command roles is what, and command roles were there. You were right in pointing out at the sub-unit level, as a platoon commander, as company commanders, they have proven their mettle in all walks of, hostility also.
Right.
So, and I think, you asked that question to Air Marshal, but I think this is a victory, not just for, women in the Indian Army, but I think it's a victory for women across the world. It's a victory for mindset of stereotype of patriarchy, because this is exactly the kind of barriers that women have faced across the world.
I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. You're all inspirations in your own right. And what a wonderful victory it is for you, Aishwarya, as a lawyer, but I think for all of us who feel strongly for the forces, it's a great day indeed.